Can I just call you Abdul?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Hussein. Okay, Abdul, listen. We're not talking about people. Allah says nobody can write anything like the Quran, but Satan's words are in the Quran.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Exodus 2:14. Today we're gonna watch Ellie. Ellie is one of those ex-Muslims or people that declare themselves to be ex-Muslims. And yeah, I've been curious about this topic for a long time. I wanted to cover it a long time. And I feel like now is the right moment. It popped up in my feed. And I think people that are watching are as interested too. You have a lot of people from the Islamic community telling us or telling people in general that ex-Muslims do not exist because most of them, if not all, have never been Muslim to begin with, meaning that either they were born in Islamic family but never practiced, they never actually believed in Allah and the Holy Prophet, all these typical things that contribute to a person actually being more an atheist or just secular and detached from the deen of Islam. So let's get into it.
Always looking on the internet, still to this day on social media and YouTube, I'm still on the lookout for videos that pique my interest about Islam and especially converts, because you'll notice if you're in the Muslim community or an ex-Muslim or anyone interested in this, you will notice that white converts are like gold dust to the Dawa people. They really love to push white people who convert to Islam.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question if it's a question, but it actually makes a lot of sense if you look at it from a social and religious perspective. So Islam is obligated to spread Islam through the four corners of the world, meaning that everybody should at least get in contact with Islam and what it's about, what it stands for, knowing that Muhammad is the last and final prophet, talking about, monotheism and the oneness of God. It's basically just connecting people with something they might not have been familiar with or had misconceptions about, and giving the opportunity to, be as a new person and start over and, become a Muslim and start over properly. So the point is why mainly Western people, white people, Caucasian people are more favored, specifically women, has to do, if it's a woman, and I'm going to refer to Quranic scripture, it's mainly because there was a preference from Muhammad, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, in the text, or it might have been a hadith as well. Sometimes I do mix them up. My bad. That's on me. If I'm misquoting it, that's because sometimes I do jumble things up. So that I'm taking that responsibility. So if I'm making a mistake, do correct it. No problem. It's mainly that there was some type of preference to Coptic Christians and Roman girls from back in the days, and that kind of declares where this type of preference comes from. That's why for example, there are Muslim men that get married that have a second or even third wife. Most of the time, we're talking about a second wife, wherein there is a one of them either be Caucasian, right? So most of the time, it's someone from their own cultural background. And then the second in line might be a Caucasian or Western woman. So basically, scriptural, there is evidence and proof that there is some type of preference or some type of pre-love, if I can call it that, concerning, Caucasian or Western women, aka Roman women, right? Secondly, it also proves another point that if people that are born in the West or more aligned with atheism, secularism, etc., everything that has to do with a decay and a decline of Western, quote-unquote, Christian culture, that's what Muslims would refer it to, it proves that there is a yearning to find the one true religion, in this context, Islam, and that's why they use it as propaganda material, because that's what Dawah is about. It should prove a point and that can only be proven through actual in real life experience and testimonies. So that's kind of responding and why there is some high regard put on it to make it stand out more, because there is relevancy to it and it helps, you know, the whole Dawa agenda.
They love to pretend that there's just this avalanche of Western women like just giving up their life and becoming Muslim. Now that's a bit of a smokescreen, because it's not like that at all, but they, you know, they rely so much on propaganda and emotional tactics and shock tactics to spread their message. So yeah, so my kind of take on the whole thing, my angle is to come and show you, just give you one example of actually what goes on a lot of the time behind the scenes that these Dawa people do not like to speak about and actually just completely avoid. You will see videos of women sharing their stories or converts, but you will rarely hear the dark side, the other side. And I think when you can get a fresh take from someone who's been through it and come out the other side and has a whole load of stories to tell you now and a lot of experience to speak about, I want to share that. I want to actually shed light on that. And I was scrolling through, you know, like YouTube, and this video popped up in my recommended actually. And it's this lady who is she's a convert to Islam, and she obviously is white, you know, as a lot of them are seem to be white women. She's actually made a video explaining why women love Islam, and she's offering her own explanation as to why women supposedly love Islam, or why women convert to Islam. Because, as I said, I don't know the actual statistics, but I do think that women might be the biggest demographic of people that, especially white women, might be one of the biggest demographics of people to convert to Islam. And
yeah, that's actually very true. These are facts that can be actually proven by statistics online. Now, the reason for that is mainly because, for example, in Islamic culture, if I can put it out like that to be more specific so that people that are watching understand what I'm talking about, is that the man determines the religion within the household. And that's why the man is allowed to marry outside of the deen of Islam to eventually bring in women that might not believe or might doubt their beliefs or whatever and become part of the ummah. That's very clear, right? That's the whole idea. But the reason why women most likely or more likely to convert than men in this scenario is because men do find their way back to their beliefs or their religion from their forefathers or from their father, while women, when their father or their brothers or any type of male sibling don't have a religion, don't practice, then they're going to look outside of it. And if they find a male that does stand strong in their beliefs, they're going to be attracted not only to him, but to what they believe in. And that's why it's most likely for them to change religions or find a new religion or find the religion. It makes just common sense. It's just a typical thing that has to do with female psychology, society in the West, and the decay of it and what's going on. And then whatever Islam can offer that has been lost for ages in Western culture that men can find back and reestablish. But women most likely will find that with or through a man. And if the majority of men in Western culture cannot bring it back, then they're going to look outside of their inner circles. And that's basically the reality of this. So I'm clarifying it with all truth and sincerity here.
She's going to give her own reasons and her own personal reasons as to why we see this phenomena of white women becoming Muslim. The reason I chose this one specifically, because there's quite a few I saw, but what I like about this one is she's kind of a classic poster convert. Like, she's white, she's a woman, she's very sweet in her personality, she seems like a nice person, and she's, as I said, she is like the face of converts that Dawa people like to push out and bring more people into Islam. But not only that, present Islam to the West as this palatable, pacifist, inclusive, progressive religion, when deep down, those of us who are familiar with it, Muslims and non-Muslims, those who have, I'd say, more than a surface level of knowledge about Islamic theology, we know that that's not true. So yeah, but even as I said, this is all about presenting an image to the rest of the world so that we are more tolerant of Islam. I'm going to react to what she's saying from an honest, I'm not saying she's not honest, but from my honest perspective on actually what's going on, and I'm going to react to her. But please don't send this lady any hate. I'm not hating on her. I'm just giving a counter reaction, a counter analysis. So I've yapped enough. So let's just go to the video.
Islam is literally the fastest growing religion in the world. Every single year, so many people choose to convert.
Guys, it's the fastest growing religion in the world because of birth rates. I just had to put that out there. It's not because of people believing in the theology and converting
to Islam, and the majority of them are women. So in this video, I will dive into the reasons why so many women choose to become Muslim, as well as some of the benefits that come with converting to the faith. I really hope that this video will provide you very valuable insight and some good information. So let's dive right in and find out why women are so attracted to Islam. Islam places a very strong emphasis on spirituality and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of women, including myself, find this connection very meaningful and fulfilling. I personally was amazed when I found out that my faith is between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very personal connection and it's a very strong bond. It doesn't require any outsiders in it. It's just between you and your creator. And
okay, so straight from the get-go here, I don't understand why that's gender specific. I mean, I can't say that there's anything about Islam, Islamic spirituality that would apply more to women than to men. As I said, it's not like God is closer to women than to men. He's pretty much treats, in terms of how he views humans, I think he actually thinks men, he actually says he designed men to be a degree above women.
Okay, so she's basically talking about, well, as an ex-Muslim, she's talking about favoritism towards men and masculinity within the religion, within the traditions. And sorry, I'm having this itch. There's some dust or whatever, some hairs tickling my nose. I'm sorry about that. So the favoritism is basically, let's just say it like this. Within Christianity, within Judaism as religions, right, as organized religions, you'll find the same pattern where there is a favoritism for masculinity, masculine figures, masculine prophets, right? There is a reason for that. It's not just only Islam that seems to focus on it. There have been female prophets, prophetesses, however you pronounce it, in the past, but the main focus has always been on men. And that's true, but that goes for all three within the Abrahamic traditions. And Islam isn't the exception, but what you gotta understand is that Islam puts the emphasis on gender roles and what is expected, and it's been proven over and over again, either way, in all those religions that I just summed up, that if you would put a woman or a female in that type of typical male position, it's not going to work well, it's not going to end well, it's not, how nature designed it to be. And that's not me being bigoted or being trying to put women in a lesser position. I'm not trying to convey any of that. That's not my point here. My point here is that what Muslims believe, what the tradition has taught them, is that both have a role to play and to fulfill, and both come together and fulfill in the completion. And the same goes within Christianity, when there is talk about marriage, the children of Israel being married, the bride of Israel being married to Christ, like the whole union, when one finds the other, and the completion kind of can be reflected within Islamic marriage and tradition, for example. And in the Judaic concept, in the Hebraic concept, it's also, the blood covenant with the Most High, and the responsibility as a people, as the children of Israel, Bnei Israel or Banu Israel, that they have also something that they have to do to fulfill their position in this world, and the responsibility that they carry through, divine guidance. So there is always this unification, the roles that have to be fulfilled and played to the fullest. If people stray away or try to change it or alter it because they see it's suitable more differently, then there is some type of repercussions, or you can say they're falling off, they're sinning, they're going against God, and then there is some type of a divine judgment or consequences. And that's why things like halakha and Sharia law come into play, because they deem to re-guide us if we don't have that in-person physical guidance. And for Muslims, of course, it can be found back in the life of Muhammad, or in the words of Allah, or in the the followers of Muhammad. What is it called again? People, like his companions, right? Like Abu Bakr and then Ali afterwards, Imam Ali afterwards. So there is always this representative that's a man, but there are a lot of women that also contributed a lot of greatness within, the whole religious tradition, that aren't exempt. But everybody plays a role, and that is gender-based, but there is also a reason to it. And I'm just clarifying it here, okay?
And that they are superior in ways because, they don't have a menses. And I've even heard Islamic scholars say that there is an actual implication of that hadith or that Quran verse where God describes, because of the fact that men actually can practice their faith easier than women. So we are deficient in faith in the eyes of Allah. So I wouldn't really say that God makes women feel better. And in fact, he says quite a lot of nasty, horrible things about women. I think even God, and also God never actually really addresses women directly. He always addresses us through men, through the context of men, through the lens of men. Women are always secondary in nature to men in the Quran. God specifically usually just refers to men. So for me, I didn't.
Maybe you should have asked yourself the question, why is that the case? Because men represent the family as a whole, men or the representative. So of course, it's always men that be put on the forefront. Like they in person represent the entirety of the family, mothers, siblings, children. They're like the head. The family is the body. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a reason to it, and you can say that it mainly has to do with Middle and Eastern tradition and culture that's embedded in Islamic teachings, and there is a reason for it. You can find it throughout biblical traditions as well, not only Old Testament. You can find it still in today's reality if it comes to ultra-Orthodox practices within Judaism. I mean, that's because the forefathers believed in that way, and the forefathers kept to that tradition. So Islam just continues something they believe is true and comes from Allah. So you can't really just say, okay, it's only this religion that seems to focus on that, so that religion is very bigoted and very anti-women and very it just only focuses on men. That's not really how it works. It's not taking it out of context, but it's zooming in too much in a way that how you see it. And even if reality does reflect it from person to person, from family to family, from cultural tradition to cultural tradition, it still has a different foundation that's less zoomed in. I don't know if I'm clarifying it, but I'm just trying to get into it more into detail.
I don't think there is anything spiritually that gives women an edge in Islam. I think actually it's quite the opposite.
Practicing Islam gives you a sense of purpose and direction, because when you become Muslim, you really understand your place in this world and your purpose in this life. Appreciate the fact that we are able to explore our faith on our own terms at our own pace. And it's incredibly empowering and uplifting. I understand that I am on my own journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in so many different ways. Everything is very clear. It's very straightforward and easy to follow. It gives you answers to any question you may have. You can think of whatever question, Islam has the answer. And that's what attracted me to the faith, to the religion. It's so wholesome, it's so complete, it's a way of life. And it's designed, it came directly from God, alhamdulillah. And it's designed to make sure you live as a human being, you live fulfilling and successful and mindful and inshallah rewarding life, and you do good in this world. And
I'm going to agree with her here. Absolutely. This is one of the biggest draws to Islam. It's the full package. It's a whole new way of living, complete with a community. You don't have to think anymore for yourself. Allah tells you what to do. And not just that, as I said, you've got plenty of human beings to actually reinforce Islam on this planet. She's not wrong. That's a draw for many people to the religion. Whether you agree with that or not is beside the point, but that definitely is a factor. And here she's saying it herself. And as she said, it's literally in Islam, every aspect of your life is mapped out. I offer the kind of flip side to that now. So basically, she is saying it in a good way, but I will flip the other side and say that actually it can be detrimental to just walk into something and be handed everything on a plate. Self-inquiry is really healthy for personal development, and having all the answers is not actually necessarily a good thing. There are some times in your life where you are required to go and find your own truth, as woke as that sounds, but there are times when you are required to actually do the work on yourself if you want to make progress in your life, or if you want to even build a better society at large. Because when we all think and we come together and come up with new solutions, we allow human society to evolve and move with the times. That's beneficial. But in Islam, that whole package deal, which never changes, is something that attracted me. It was so attractive. But now I know better. I know better now. But back then, and for a lot of converts, they don't know. They don't understand the dynamics in that.
Islam promotes gender equality, which basically means that both men and women are equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means that both men and women are awarded the same rights and privileges under Islam. Islam granted women so many rights that were not afforded to women of other faiths and other cultural backgrounds at the time of its revelation. For example, Islam gives women the right to education, the right to own and inherit property, the right to keep her own last name, the right to divorce and custody of the children. A lot of those rights were unheard of in other societies back in the day. And knowing this, that women are so respected and valued and honored and protected under Islam, of course, that makes Islam very attractive to women of all walks of life.
No, it doesn't give equal rights to girls. This is a really fake selling point that they push, but no, it doesn't actually. And I don't know if she is that well versed on her Islamic knowledge, but it really doesn't. Women and men are not considered to be equal in terms of their roles, their gender roles. They're equal, yes, in terms of their belief in the eyes of Allah. So really, you're equal in terms of are you a believer or not. But no, women and men are not afforded the same rights at all, and they are not even. There's no emphasis on men and women should be the same. That's actually modern Muslims who have absorbed liberal values and have actually lived in cultures or come into contact with the feminist movement.
Yeah, she's actually right on that part, and I'll let the community judge for itself. Don't want it to be the final word or the final say, neither from her or from me. But what I want to add to it as a further explanation of what she's stating is that that's also the reason why a lot of left-winged people and organizations like to collaborate and like to push and sponsor Islam as a religion, because they recognize certain traits and patterns that they favor and prioritize as well. And then at that point, they want to hold hands and push forward against the patriarchy, the evil West, Christianity and whatever. Now, what comes to matter that how Islam does operate, and the same goes what you can find in ultra-Orthodox Judaism as a religion, and what they have in common is basically very simple. It's that both genders, both men and women, they become as equals if they fulfill their gender roles through religious law given by God or Allah. And if they can fulfill it, then they become equal in partnership. Like they become like this unit, right? And then everybody plays a respected role, everybody fulfills the law that has been provided, and then everybody is equal in the eyes of Allah, gets the equal treatment as in the sense of their their beliefs. And that's true. But of course, if it comes to rights and regulations and position in society, position in the household, it's different. Both genders have been given what they owe or deserved or deserving of, and that's where the differences do lie. So whatever men get is specifically designed for men, whatever women get is specifically designed for women, and that's why you have what you can say a inequality based on rules and regulations within the Islamic traditions. And then inequality is more likely to be visible from the outside in, but equality can only exist if both combined form one whole. And that's actually how it's designed. And I'm not saying that because I'm personally favoring it or pro or trying to push it. I'm just saying, like, look, this is a tradition that is very, very, very common in the older Abrahamic ways. So it's not just, again, an Islamic thing. You can't see it as an isolated case. That's kind of like when people have issues with a certain culture, like stereotyping, like pointing their fingers and saying like it's always this type of people that cause this type of trouble. That's because you're focusing too much and you want it to be true so you can feel better about yourself and the problem you have with these people or these beliefs. And the same goes with Islam too. If Ali here has issues with those typical traits that come with Islamic traditions, whether it's cultural influenced or not, you can find it in other traditions as well. And then you should equally also address it, that it's not just singled out problematic that lies within Islamic traditions.
And they've modified it and sold it and changed it to fit their own narrative, because obviously when you live in the West, that proximity of meeting different people will, that's normal. That's what humans do. You start to absorb the values of people around you. So Muslims in the West, or smart Dawah Muslims, have over time sort of adapted the message. All of this stuff about gender equality is a byproduct of the feminist movement and other things that took place in the 20th century, really, where women and men's roles were changing in society, and these are things that sort of emerged from that. Islam, it treats women and treats men as traditionally as you would expect. It reflects the time that it was revealed, i.e. a 7th century. It's pretty representative of that time. But it's us who retrospectively, insert our Western or modern values. And that's what, as I said, it's very representative of the time that it was revealed, or the time that Islam was made.
And if you took a moment to research, do a very basic research, you would be enlightened.
I did my research and it drove me away from the religion. So explain that. I'm not being bigoted or prejudiced. I found this from the Islamic sources themselves. So no, not everyone who thinks that Islam oppresses women or that Islamic theology is misogynistic is bigoted. People have done their research and they have come to that conclusion for valid reasons. So
I was amazed by what I found. By looking at all the rights and privileges that Muslim women get.
And when I was watching this, something that came to my mind was, but we have rights in the West as well. It's not like we don't have these rights already.
Islam offers a sense of community and belonging. Islam provides a framework of social and moral relationships that encourages Muslims to support and help one another. And this sense of community and belonging is very, very important for women who choose to convert to Islam.
Again, she's not wrong. That's true. There is a huge sense of community and you will find it, but I'm not saying that it will always be the most supportive, but people have found a sense of community, and yeah, that's definitely a drawing point.
When I first converted to Islam, I was completely struck and amazed by how quickly Muslims jumped to help me in whatever way that I needed.
So when I get the point is out very quickly, is that the lady in the video, in the YouTube video, I don't know who she is, I don't know what the channel is called, but I think personally, from my perspective and my expertise in that field, regardless of Islam, we're just going to keep these aside, she looks like she's not mentally stable. That's number one. And number two, she's emotionally too invested. And it could be that she's on her period while she was making this video. I'm not saying this to judge. I'm just saying this. You have to keep this in mind when you're taking in information of an individual online, because these things do influence, the way they relate, their message, and everything that comes with it. It's like if you're a hate-filled person, you will sense it when you watch a video. If you are down and depressed, you will sense it in a video. These things, this is human nature that we're talking about. I mean, but we have to keep it in mind when we're dealing with those things as belief, religion, spirituality, and your mindset.
I received gifts from other Muslims, including a prayer mat and multiple Qurans. And these gifts were very thoughtful and generous, and of course, they helped me grow as a Muslim woman.
I don't want to doubt the intentions of those people. I'm sure some were genuinely thrilled, but this is very similar to what is known as love bombing. When you overwhelm someone with gifts and affection and love, it's a manipulation tactic to get people in, because what that does is when you're being gifted and loved and, loved on and given all these lovely things and welcomed, and it actually creates a memory in your mind, which also sets off a chemical reaction. So you'll get that increase of dopamine, maybe oxytocin, and obviously a very firm memory will form in your mind of basically reward. As I said, dopamine chemical is the reward chemical, the reward reaction. within the mind, and your brain actually remembers that time as something very rewarding. So inevitably, it's not going to last forever. They will not always be giving you gifts and love and showering you with praise. That's a very initial stage of the process of converting. But in your brain, that memory is now ingrained, and you will be constantly trying to get that high back. That's why it's love bombing, and that's why it's a manipulation tactic, because it hooks you in, and then you are forever chasing that feeling again until you wise up, until you understand what's happening and you overcome it. And I'm not saying they intentionally manipulate people. I think it's just the dynamic of the faith itself, that it's so people are so welcomed and accepted no matter who they are. But as I said, you could say that's love bombing, and that's not the healthiest way to enter into any community or any situation.
Having a strong community and seeing the incredible relationships that are formed between Muslims, and how we are there to help and uplift each other out, and we're willing to do whatever it takes just to help another person, that's wonderful. And it's a very attractive quality when you are, as an outsider who is thinking about converting to the faith, and you see how tight-knit the community is and how kind and helpful people are. Of course you can't help but admire that.
I mean, she's right. It's very attractive, but always bear in mind that that can be easily taken away if you ever decide to leave the faith. So keep that in mind, that, or the rug can be really pulled from under your feet. And remember that that community could become quite judgmental, because they'll all be reinforcing Islamic beliefs and behavior. So it's not all lovey-dovey, but I will admit it is supportive, and it's a huge draw for a lot of people.
Or it's a sense of belonging in a Muslim community, in a community that will always have your back. Islam is so attractive to women, and why so many women choose to convert to Islam, whether it's the spiritual fulfillment that is appealing to them, that you get from a personal connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it's gender equality that Islam promotes, alhamdulillah, that will always uplift and help you out when you need it the most. All of those things attracted me to Islam, and I know I'm not alone.
You know, when she says she's not alone, she's right. She's not alone. Many people feel that way, including me. It's quite scary, actually, how many of our stories are so similar. Muslim converts, we have a really similar trajectory that kind of leads us to becoming Muslim. And everything she says there is actually, I agree with a lot of what she's saying. The only difference now is I don't anymore agree with the propaganda about equal rights, or like the fact that the community is so welcoming, that's just something to be so like. Now, as an ex-Muslim convert, I actually have done that deep dive, more or less, to work out why it wasn't as wonderful as it was sold to be. Some people actually don't care about that kind of thing. All they care about is, am I getting my social needs met? Do I have a community? Do I have people that have got my back no matter what? Some people actually like that, and they're not interested in deep dive inquiries into theology. They're sold this superficial stuff and they buy it and they don't care, and they're happy in their way of life that they found. But I always think it's important to counter that narrative, because that's one particular mindset that is happy to accept this. But trust me, there are so many people, so many women who enter into this faith and then they completely regret it. They're sold this lie, and then by the time you've got kids, by the time you're settled in, some people move abroad. I've heard horror stories of women moving abroad, getting trapped, and really having to fight their way back to the West. Don't watch videos like the one I just showed and just buy it. Always do a deep dive inquiry. My reaction to it is the other side of Islamic dawah, the other side of converting to Islam. I hope my reaction gave a bit of insight, and I hope you enjoyed watching this reaction video. And as always, if you are considering becoming Muslim, please research the religion as much as you can and listen to people who've left the religion, especially if you're a woman and you're considering converting for marriage or moving abroad. Please take your precious time to really think about what you're doing. Because anyway guys, thank you for watching if you watched, and I wish everyone the best, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you.
Did she just do like a trust me bro? I think she pulled off a trust me bro. I mean, that's never a good piece of advice, because, you know, I just personally don't think that in these type of situations that's the best piece of advice. I could be doing that too, but I'm not going to be doing that, because I personally think that's not the way to deal with it. You can share an opinion, but if you start saying you gotta trust me, believe me, I know what I'm talking about, yeah, you know, like, okay, we'll just keep it at that. So my final question is, what do you guys think of this video? You know, her, Ali, being an ex-Muslim, an ex-convert, now coming back, now realizing all the flaws and all the problematics, you know, within Islam as a religion, and people that convert, that they get misled or blinded by all the positive elements and don't really care about deep diving and just go with the flow, because whatever they lacked in their quote-unquote Christian society, secular society, atheist society, doesn't have that anymore, you know, because basically what it boils down to is just tribalism. It's tribalism. You know, all these things used to be very present in the West as well, but this disconnection came on purpose by design. And I'm not going to go into any detail, because that would be for a completely different video, but what I'm trying to say is it makes sense that people yearn something that is not existent in their own culture, in their own society. So the best next thing is participating, becoming a part of another society or another belief system, and being able to indulge in something that is essential to human nature. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate your time. You have something to add, feel free to do so. You have questions, reach out. Don't forget, you know, it's always important to share your opinion. You don't have to agree with everything, and your opinion matters as much as anyone else's. Thank you for watching. Take care. I'll be seeing you in the next video.